Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we're going to be learning about how to make a grid for various sacred geometry shapes. These aren't all of them. The flower of life, the tree of life, the egg of life, the seed of life, Merkaba, Vesica Pisces, and I think that's back to the beginning. These aren't all of the sacred geometry shapes that there are, but these are some common ones. And you'll notice that each one can be made utilizing the grid you see here of the cube, the 9 by 9 cube. Each face has 9 squares. There are 3 planes. And this allows for a 3rd dimensional shape to be manifested, utilizing the different segments of the various planes to help you remember how to create each shape. So of course, first we need to start off by practicing creating the grid. When I first made these shapes, I created the grid by starting with the outer circle and moving inward. And so as I was creating that outer circle, I utilized my tools, which I'll introduce in a moment here. I used my tools to create this bigger circle. And then I followed the instructions of another teacher to then plot out the lines and the points of the grid, and then create the lines within the grid. Now, what I learned from this initial process was that these segments, it would be easiest if we made these segments the amount that is easily read on a ruler. So I'll talk a little bit more about how to choose that segment number that feels easily accessible, which means sometimes making a smaller circle than the page permits. So let's talk about the tools. The paper, I'm just using this cardstock. I got these as the inserts of just blank cards that I could write notes on for friends, and I have utilized a lot of these cards for that, but I also like the size of them and that there are different colors, so I decided to use it to make these grids and shapes. The next tool is the compass. This is how we make our circles. I like this compass because it has a nice weight to it, and I can change the sides very easily, either by twisting this knob. There's many knobs. I can twist this to make it bigger or smaller. I can also press on this and adjust the size that way. This is a heavy duty metal. It feels really good in the hands. The details of your tools does make a difference with how likely you are to continue with your craft. I've had this for at least a year now, and I really enjoy working with this piece. And the tools that came with it allow for, you know, breaks or sharpening, or it has more lead as well. And there's a bigger arm that I can attach to make bigger circles on bigger canvases. So this is the compass I enjoy using. A clear ruler is very helpful so that you can line it up, and you can also see the shapes that are being created. And having access to the entire grid while you are making the piece allows for more flow and more attention to detail. Being able to see the whole piece, for it not to be disappearing and showing up and disappearing and showing up. I also have this large metal ruler. It has some cork on the back, which allows for it not to slip. It also has some weight to it, which is very enjoyable to work with. And I need a longer ruler so that I can measure the entire length of the diagonal of the card so that I can find the dead center. As you see, this ruler does not fit all the way. And so again, for flow, being able to trust that you're hitting each edge of the index card encourages breath and ease throughout the process of creation. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the grid first. Let's see, we can add that there for reference. Here we have a blank paper. And so we're going to find that center by measuring the diagonal. The diagonal is 6.5 inches. Oh, another tool that I really need is my pencil. I'll be right back. I'm going to go get that. Okay, so half of 6.5 is 3.25. So I went ahead and I marked the center of the paper by calculating the diagonal. And now I'm going to make my circle. But like I said, I'm not going to make this the entire size, but rather I want to see this circle fit with a nice interval of each segment. So there's 3 segments, and each segment can be as long as I want it to be. But I think I'm going to choose segments of 1.5 if it fits. So 1.5 times 3 is 4.5. Let's double check that my math is correct. Here's 4.5. 1 would be 3.5, and 0.5 would be 3. 1 would be 2, and 0.5 would be 1.5. So now we only have oh, 0.5 and then 1.5. Okay, so that actually should work, and that does fill the page. So we got both of our wishes coming true. So now we need to mark on the page where the top of the circle would be. And let's go down and do the same thing. So we want it to be 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. So that's at the 9 mark. So let's see. 1.5 times 6 must be 9. 1.5 times 6, so that would be 6 plus 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 7, 7.5. Huh. I'm surprised that it's not ending at 7.5. Does this length look the same as this length? Look the same as this length? To me, let's see. 1.5 times 6. 35, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, 6 times 5 is 30. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Six times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So we know that this checks out. So now we can go ahead and make this first mark. We want to measure from the center to the dot. Okay. That looks about right. You can drag the compass like that, or you can twist the page around. And that's what I like about using index cards. Okay, how lovely. A circle. Now, in order to make this grid, and I'm looking at this grid and I'm seeing that there's a line down the center of all of these pages. But a three-dimensional plane isn't going to have this line. So now that I've learned a thing or two, we're going to make this grid even cleaner by just doing these cube focused line points. These cube precise line points, perhaps you could say. So in order to find these lines, we can actually mark the page because this is the radius, this is a radius, this is a radius, this is a radius, and these are the same size as these radius because a cube, all of the sides of a cube are the same size. So the radius of the circle and each segment of the cube are all going to be the same size. So this point to this point is the same as this point to this point. So we can actually mark the top here. And that will give us the points along the circle where the cube touches. So we do 2 on that side, and then we do 2 on this side. And to check our work, we can just go ahead and check and make sure that these lines are also the same size. And this will just support the validity and reliability of our grid so that we feel confident about the lines. Okay, so we're seeing those X's are pretty spot on. That means that all the segments are the same size, and we can feel confident that our cube is going to come out precise. Okay, so now I'm going to remember those edges, and I'm going back and forth lining up the ruler with the dots, just like that. Kind of going back and forth, wiggling. And when I feel confident, then I make the mark. And I'm breathing, and I'm listening to the sounds of the pencil on the paper, and enjoying the process of turning the paper. And that's why the smaller index card is also nice, because you can go ahead and design and create kind of not have and have your tools closer too, because the paper isn't taking up as much space. You know, but it's all preference, just kind of sharing my process. So now that we have the outer lines sketched in, we can go ahead and connect towards the center and down to the bottom. This line is actually not necessary, because a cube, visually, if that line was gone, then the cube would look more three-dimensional. And so that was just a line that I had created to make a center point. But now that I've learned a little bit more about the integrity of this shape, this grid, I feel confident that I can create that without that line interfering with the visual experience. So we're going to go ahead and continue with the plastic ruler, the see-through ruler, so that we can find those edges pretty easily without having to focus too hard. Just wiggling back and forth. Okay, now we're going to do a line straight down. This process is so comforting. Okay, now you're starting to see that cube come into shape. You're starting to see the three-dimensional aspect of it. And we're going to finish these grid lines by marking that 1.5 segment on each of the lines, and that will allow us to then fill in the grid. So we have them marked using the whiteboard marker. That way I can erase them or wipe them off after. We're just going to go around the cube and make those marks. Oh, see, I made these marks on the inches and I was like, it doesn't line up. So I didn't make the mark because I knew that there was a distortion happening. And then I realized that I was on the wrong side of the ruler, and I want to look at the centimeter side of the ruler. And if I come back to the centimeter side of the ruler, we see one mark and one kind of faded mark. So I'm going to go ahead and remark that. So that's 1.5, this is 3, and 4.5 ends right at the end of the segment. So we're gonna mark it there, and we're gonna mark it there, okay? Let's see. We're lining it up. We're marking. We're lining it up. We're marking it out. We're lining it up. We're marking it out. We're lining it up. We're breathing. Yeah, this is such a relaxing process for me. I really enjoy it. So we also want to mark these inside segments. There's 6 sides, and there's 3 internal segments. There we go. Lining it up, marking it. Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so now I'm gonna fill in the grid. And that is just a matter of lining up these segments and connecting them, right? So we go across to the right, and we go across to the left. Yeah, right there. So comforting. Okay. And we go across again. And now we go down the cube. And we see the grid forming very beautifully, unfolding. Stunning. beautiful. We have a gorgeous cube here, and now we could easily mark a sacred geometry shape. We have the integrity, the structure to easily manifest a beautiful shape.